Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna battery-powered chainsaw. Model is a 120i. Customer complaint is that when he pulls the trigger, he gets this red warning light and the unit stops working. So that red warning light will come on when there's a problem with the machine, but also when the chain brake lever isn't engaged. And that's why you saw me wiggling the lever a little bit to see if there's any reaction when I did that. And, you know, I didn't get any definite answer there as far as whether or not it's working. But I can tell you that I know the battery is good, which can also give you a red flashing light if it was bad. And because of the way it's acting and when it runs right when it is running, I just get the impression that that switch in the front is intermittent and giving me grief. And it's easy enough to test. I mean, I don't have a tool I can hook up to the control board inside here and have the tool tell me yes, I'm good or yes, I'm bad. But I certainly can jump around the switch and see if the machine works properly after doing that. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to open this up. We're going to jump the brake lever switch and see what kind of reaction we get. If it still gives me the flashing red light, it's probably the control board that's bad. So our switch that we're looking for is up front here, and it's just a micro switch. You move the lever back and forth, it mechanically actuates a brake, but it also shuts off power to the motor so that the motor is not fighting the brake. There's two wires on this micro switch, and the switch itself is just pushed over the top of two pins in the case. So I'm just wiggling the switch now and lifting it off the pins and then pulling the last of the two wires. Now I'm going to take a jumper wire and I'm going to run it between those two wires, essentially eliminating the switch and putting it into run mode. Yep, everything looks good. Looks like I should be able to run it like this without the side cover on. Let's drop our battery in here and give it a try. Hit the brake on. Cripes. Seems to run normal. So for the low cost of a switch, we're gonna swap one in and see if that works for us. You can see that the light is flashing there when I took the jumper wire off. So I thought I'm gonna have to dig around in all my little scrap bins and see if I got a micro switch. Without even thinking that, I should look and see if we stocked this switch or not. And sure enough, we did. There's your part number for the brake switch for a 120i battery-powered chainsaw. Well, as you can imagine, putting this switch in here is pretty easy. Reverse order of taking the other one out. I'm going to push the wires onto the terminals of the switch Doesn't matter which wire goes on which terminal, although the way they are originally routed, one wire lands a little shorter than the other wire and has to go on the near post. When I say that the switch just sits on top of these two posts here, there's two holes on a switch. Push it over the top of the post, that's it. Now one of the posts is actually metal and one of them is plastic. And the metal one's pretty tight fit. We're just double checking, make sure that the switch is actuated when we move the brake lever. And we're going to neatly route our wires so that nothing gets caught up in anything. Now our trigger lever had fallen out and we just got to put that back in. There's a spring on this safety detent, and then the trigger goes over the top of a pivot point. Now we just kind of fumble that detent in there. Just like that. Now I don't need to hold this trigger at this position, it'll stay. So we get our battery tray lined up with our side cover. Everything fell into place quite nicely. And we'll run all these screws home. Remember, we're just going into plastic here. And then our handle has to go back on. This is probably the hardest part of the whole job. That handle, you got to spread it apart a little bit to get it to fit over the saw. But once it snaps into place, it barely needs a screw to stay there. So if this thing works, that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 120i battery-powered chainsaw brake switch replacement. Thanks for watching.
Just made it.
Later.